Unfortunately, many people can relate with this first segment, burnout at work. According to Fortune.com, about 82% of employees are at risk of burnout in 2024, but only half of employers design work with well-being in mind for those workers. Therapist Dr. Jasmine Boone joins The Factor to talk about signs of burnout and whose responsibility it is to maintain happiness. Dr. Boone, let's first start out with what is burnout when it is associated with your job, your place of employment?
So it would be defined by the World Health Organization as chronic workplace stress that is not successfully managed, right? Now, if you are able to have your balance and manage it well, we're not dealing with burnout. It's when it's not successfully managed that it is considered burnout, and you would also have to rule out other mood disorders like anxiety, depression, that type of thing. Then we're dealing with burnout.
Now, when we look at that official definition from the World Health Organization, it says that if it's not managed or if you're not managing it right, so it almost feels like it's on the worker, the employee, that you have to manage that better. Or is it almost a two-way street where the employer should also recognize your burnout?
Definitely a two-way street, right? And that is one of the biggest problems with having burnout in the workplace recognized, because there usually is this tone of like, well, you better figure it out, employee, you better get it together. No, it is definitely a two-way street. How often do employers email after work hours or say, hey, could you come in and knock this out for me really quickly? All of that definitely contributes to workplace burnout, right? And so there are so many factors that the employer would have to consider and the employee would have to consider.
Now, when we talk about burnout on the job, what kind of problems, whether it's mental or health problems, could this lead to? First, before we go there, Dr. Boone, how do you know you're experiencing burnout? What are some of the symptoms that the person would get first? Let's establish that.
Yes. So things that you will be looking for: exhaustion, right? The fatigue, I'm just tired. Detachment and disconnected, right? Maybe you're kind of forgetful on the job. That lack of motivation. I just don't feel like doing this. You're definitely not as effective doing your job, right? Those are things that we're looking for. Also, just kind of cynicism and pessimism. If you're just really having a hard time finding anything nice to say about your job, those are things to consider. I also say, if you just find in the morning persistently that you are dreading going to work, and this has kind of persisted for the last couple of months, maybe even the last year, these are all signs that I could be burned out.
Got it. Now, once you are burned out and you don't address it, what kinds of problems could it lead to mentally and both physically, health-wise?
So there's a huge overlap with burnout and depression, right? So burnout is not considered a psychological disorder. It's more of a social or organizational disorder. Operational disorder. But it can cause psychological stress, right? So we see the anxiety, we see the depression, we see even physically, we see lethargy, we see people becoming frustrated, agitated. A lot of the symptoms start to look a lot like depression, with the lack of motivation to do things I used to do. I'm too tired to get out and socialize. So depression and anxiety, it can definitely lead into those disorders.
Now, most people would find the solution or the fixer for this would be take a break. And obviously that feels like a Band-Aid to me, the Band-Aid approach. If you're burnt out on the job, even if you take a break, when you come back, well, pretty soon you're going to be burned out again. So what do you recommend? Obviously, a vacation, a break is good, but long-term to deal with the burnout that you may have on the job.
Yeah. So breaks are really big and they can help with recovery, right? But if we're talking about one big vacation, like you said, that's not going to do it. We have to figure out what type of break we need, how often we need that break. It may not be vacation. It may be, I have to take several breaks throughout the week. And even like a rule of thumb in workplace is every 45 minutes, I should be taking some type of break, whether it's some breathing, whether it's just let me step away from the computer screen for a little bit to kind of maintain my mental health, right? Other things that you need to consider to like maintain your mental health in the workplace. Breathing, of course, you want to take the breathing, you want to consider your type of breaks that you want to do, and also socializing, be around people. We find we're burned out anytime the award that we get from working is not proportional to the efforts we pour in. A lot of times we'll put so much pressure on ourselves, or our workplace will put so much pressure on us that we are overpouring all of ourselves into the task at hand. We have to pull back and create that balance and that boundary for ourselves. When 5 o'clock hits, I'm off the clock. We have to create those type of boundaries for ourselves to really maintain the change in burnout.
All right, Dr. Jasmine Boone, always good to talk to you with some great advice for those who are burnt out at the job. Not me yet. I'm still having a
Okay, good.
All right, Dr. Boone, thank you so much, and we appreciate your help here on The Factor Uncensored.